Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Nurses in the News. We are live streaming the Lindsay Clancy trial, and we're going to head right over to court and get right into it.
They're part of the record.
Yeah, I might forget about this.
I would object if we could approach.
I don't want to have a jury that only go through 10.
Oh, no, I know that. Listen, you want to mark them for identification, and then we can address that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And maybe just with a few questions.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Negri, I'm just going to approach and show you.
Hold on a second. Is that my... Okay, thank you. All right, thank you.
Just to show you a page from the records that's labeled. Brigham and Women's, page 76. You can hold it in.
Specifically this highlighted area?
Yeah, I would direct your attention to the bottom paragraph where it says exam. That's not your note from the record, correct?
Correct.
And when it's noted that the right upper extremity, left upper extremity has 3.5 centimeter deep laceration, 2 centimeter deep laceration, deep in the medical notes is not a adjective of it, correct? It's more of a directionality of the injury.
It's a description of, basically an objective unit of measure.
Okay. But when we say deep, it means that it goes down into the skin as opposed to across
It
the
doesn't matter
skin.
what we say, it's what the record says.
All right, I understand. Go ahead. Just, if you could ask that question again.
As far as your assessment of injuries, deep goes down in the skin as opposed to across the skin.
Correct.
Okay. And as far as Dr. Anderson goes, you knew that him to be one of the attendings and a trauma surgeon in this case. Were you aware that on January 24th he had examined these injuries and indicated they did not require repair at that time?
I don't recall specifically. I'm sorry.
But you came in to repair these on January 25th?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything on that?
No, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you. You're all set. Attorney Buckingham, please.
The Commonwealth would call Nicholas Roberts as its next witness, please.
Good morning, sir. Can you stop right there and raise your right hand for the clerk, please?
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. May I have a seat?
Watch your step, please.
All right, good morning, sir. All right, counsel.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jurors your first and last name?
It's Nicholas Roberts.
And where do you currently work?
I work for a company called Thermo Fisher.
What is that? What do they do?
They sell plenty of laboratory-based products, including refrigeration. They sell solvents. They do instruments as well.
Prior to working for that company, did you work for the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab?
I did.
In what unit did you work for the crime lab?
I was in the toxicology unit
How long did you work for the crime lab?
for about 9 years.
And in working for the crime lab, what kind of training and experience did you have to work in the toxicology unit?
Prior to being hired, I have both a bachelor's and a master's degree in applied forensic science with a concentration in chemistry and toxicology. I also have the master's is in forensic toxicology. While being hired on the job, they provide training for all the in-house
That's the first brother I've seen on the stand the whole trial.
stuff that we test for, which includes not only a theory-based training, but also practical stuff so that you can analyze and run all the tests that we do in-house.
And as far as your work in the toxicology unit, fair to say, in January of 2023 or February of 2023, you were what's referred to as a forensic scientist 2, correct?
Yes.
And throughout your time at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, did you have to undergo competency tests and proficiency tests?
Yes.
And why is that? Why do you have to do that?
So mainly it's to...
No problem with his credentials and...
Sir, in working at the State Police Crime Lab, did you just work in the toxicology unit, or did you work in any other units in your time there?
No, only in toxicology.
Okay. Now, as it pertains to the toxicology unit, fair to say the State Police Crime Lab has a specific set of protocols and procedures that are followed in every case?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time in February of 2023, was the State Police Crime Lab using the batch review process?
Yes.
And so when the state police use this process, there are a number of different technicians or forensic scientists that work on any given case. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And at the end of it, one analyst is responsible for reviewing all the data and authoring a report?
Yes.
And based on your training and experience, if you're that person reviewing the data and authoring the report, do you have the ability to interpret some of the data in the report?
Yes.
Or data in the testing, I should say?
Yes, we review all the data that is provided within the case file.
And did you, during your time at the crime lab in the toxicology unit, stay up to date on various types of drugs and quantifications of those drugs and what that could mean for levels in a person's blood or urine?
Yes, they keep us up to date on drugs that are commonly used.
So one of the roles in the toxicology unit is for you to report whether substances are detected in blood and urine. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And at some points, are you also called upon to interpret the levels of those drugs?
So in blood, we report values, so we get concentrations of the different drugs, and we mainly report them in blood.
Okay. And as far as the concentration levels themselves, did you have training and experience on interpreting those levels?
We usually get training on the effects of the drugs. It's hard to say with some drugs, as well as some people, what one level might mean for one person. It might differ, and you have different effects on another.
Okay, and fair to say that's a limitation of just reviewing blood and not knowing anything else about a case, right?
Yes.
Okay. At the toxicology unit, at the crime lab, is there a limitation as to how or what types of drugs can actually be quantified or given concentration levels?
Yes, we only quantify certain drugs.
And what happens if there are other drugs present and there's a request for quantification or concentration levels? What does your lab do with that?
Usually they're sent out to another lab in order for testing.
And are you familiar with the NMS lab?
Yes.
Is that, or was that at that time, a common lab that would be sent drugs that you could not quantify in your lab?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to the lab number of 01723. It's a case that you were the reporting analyst on, correct?
Yes.
And fair to say that there were several items that were submitted to the toxicology unit as specimens.
Yes.
Including blood, plasma, and urine.
Yes.
And did you work with other members of the toxicology unit to have those specimens screened and then further tested?
Yes, the batch process was followed.
And as far as any screening tests, did you yourself do any screening tests on these items?
Yes.
What screening tests did you do?
The screening for the alcohol.
And was there any alcohol present?
No.
And in this screening for alcohol, does it just tell you whether it was detected or not detected?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you don't have a result, there's nothing further to do?
Correct.
Now, as far as the blood that was tested in this case, in the urine, you were aware that there were screening tests done for what's called the ELISA screen, benzodiazepines, and general unknown screens for these samples, correct?
Yes, that's usually our protocol.
And in any of those circumstances, were there positive results?
Yes.
And as it pertained to the positive results, what's your understanding of what was positive?
So to my knowledge, it was positive for the benzodiazepine panel in ELISA. That would have gotten further confirmatory testing done on it to see the levels as well as the individual types of benzos that were present in the blood. And the same was for the urine as well. We also identified a few substances via our general unknown screen, which was confirmed in blood and urine.
Now, as far as...
Counsel, is there an agreement as to whose blood is being tested at this point instead of just by the number?
Yes.
I mean, it might be easier for everybody, for the jury to follow.
So would Your Honor just like me to read the results?
No, just instead of referring to it by a number. Well, let me see it sidebar.
The prosecution is killing her own case. You know, everyone is frustrated. It's no need for all this talking and all this rigmarole. What are the results? Not all this, where'd you go to school? How'd you go to school? That's why Kevin Reddington is getting frustrated, because she's dragging out the trial. Just get the people on the stand, and without this long line of questioning, just where did you work? Are you qualified? Did you test the blood? What are the results? Like, there's no need for her to be dragging this out. And why does she need 4 different toxicology specialists? You can hear Attorney Reddington saying, I'm not disputing this at all. I'm not disputing this. So I just don't understand. And that's why the judge is like where are we going with this? Like, you have got to get, the prosecutor is horrible, horrible. The prosecutor is absolutely horrible. Literally no need for her to keep going on and on and on and on and on with this line of questioning. She needs to get the real, she needs to get, it's time for her to get the mental health experts like on the stand. They said yesterday she had Valium in her blood. I just don't understand why she needs several, toxicology specialists to say the same thing. The blood work is the blood work, no matter how many times over they say it. Today is supposed to be a short day today. They're only supposed to be in here till about 12 o'clock. So we will see. She probably will be with this witness until 12 o'clock. If you're just coming into the chat, please like, comment, and share. There's a lot of sidebar during this trial. I'm not sure if it's because the prosecution needs a lot of assistance, and it's 2 of them. It's 2 of them there. It's just absolutely ridiculous the way they're handling this case. So we can see yesterday, she had benzos in her system. And I believe she had Lamictal, Seroquel, and Trazodone in her system as well. Did she take them all at one time when she was trying to unalive herself? Or was she taking those meds? Per her med journal, she was taking diazepam and Seroquel every night. What's interesting about the Lamictal being in her system, Lamictal is a mood stabilizer, right? We generally give that, patients with bipolar. Attorney Reddington is making the case for her actually being bipolar with psychotic features. I think that because he keeps bringing up bipolar, he keeps bringing up hypomania, I think, and SSRIs, I think he is setting the stage to say this wasn't postpartum psychosis. She was misdiagnosed. She had bipolar with psychotic features, schizoaffective. I think that's where he's leaning. That she probably was bipolar.
Substances that were detected in the general unknown screen, correct?
Yes.
And that would have been mirtazapine, lamotrigine, quetiapine metabolite, and trazodone.
Yes.
And was your lab able to get concentration levels for those?
No.
And so what did you do, or what was done with the samples or the specimens as it pertained to those substances?
To my knowledge, they were sent to NMS labs.
And you've previously stated that you are trained on effects of certain types of drugs, but your limitation is you don't know how it affects a particular individual, correct?
Correct.
These particular 5 benzodiazepines, do you know where they fall in the type of drug, what the general effects of those drugs are?
Benzos tend to be central nervous system depressants.
Okay. And the ones that were detected, but you don't have the levels for mirtazapine in the list I read, what category are those drugs?
Those tend to also be central nervous system depressants. Quetiapine in particular is usually known to treat bipolar disorder or schizophrenia.
And as it pertains to the presence of the 5 benzodiazepines, your testing is limited in that you don't know whether that was from one medication or multiple medications, correct?
Correct, because the nordiazepam, oxazepam, and temazepam tend to be metabolites of diazepam.
He's setting the stage for his bipolar
No
defense.
further questions.
He's going to say that she was
Great.
schizoaffective.
Morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
Not too bad yourself?
All right. Just a couple of brief questions. First of all, this would be a blood sample that was taken from Lindsay on a particular, like one day. This is not a panel of a bunch of different samples, right?
To my knowledge, there would have been a few different test tubes submitted to us.
Okay, test tubes, but when you draw in other words, when you draw the blood, it would basically be the same time that they put it in different test tubes.
Yes, I'm not familiar with these specific ones, like if they were done over a span of time, but usually...
That's fair enough. I mean, yeah. But you have the test tubes and you know that it's Lindsay Clancy's blood, right?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that that's a fairly large number of drugs and metabolites that are in that particular blood sample, right?
I have seen more.
Oh, I'm sure. But nevertheless, that's still a large number of drugs, though, right?
Yeah, there's quite a few.
And you don't know, as working your job for the state police at that time, you don't know how many of these drugs are coming from scripts, prescriptions, and things of that nature, right?
No.
One of the things that you had mentioned were metabolites, and you said that because the district attorney asked you about different benzodiazepines, this PAM, that PAM, this PAM, that PAM, and then you responded and said, yeah, but there's a lot of metabolites involved in that, right? What does that mean?
So a metabolite is just a breakdown of anything usually by the body. So you have what we call a parent drug, and the body, if you ingest that, the body would then break it down or put it into a more digestible form in order to get rid of it.
Okay. So when you have a number of metabolites, for example, someone may have a prescription for amitriptyline or a prescription for Zoloft or Ativan or something. And they take the pill and it's in their system, and then over time it would metabolize and there'd be different PAMs or whatever it is that would break down into the blood.
PAMs.
Is that right?
Yes.
How about tetrahydrocannabinols, THC, marijuana? What was the level on that?
To my knowledge, we didn't find any.
No marijuana, right?
Correct.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right. Attorney Buckingham, anything to direct? All right, so by agreement, that may be admitted.
It's very interesting. Kevin Reddington is setting the stage. You know, she had a lot of drugs in her blood. He's setting the stage for his schizoaffective defense. Definitely gonna say that it was bipolar. It was never postpartum psychosis, because, you know, this was 8 months after her baby was born. So, you know, postpartum psychosis usually peaks 2 to 12 weeks. He's gonna go with she was bipolar. This is why the exercising, the excessive spending, cleaning out the garage. He's setting the stage to say she was misdiagnosed, period. Let's listen in.
All right, good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
All right, I'd ask you to keep your voice up so that the jury can hear you. And with that, counsel.
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Can you please tell the jurors your first and last name?
It's Justin Brower, Brower.
And what do you do for work, sir?
I'm a forensic toxicologist for NMS Laboratories.
And where is that laboratory located?
The laboratory is located in Horsham, Pennsylvania, just north of Philadelphia.
And what does your laboratory do?
We are a reference laboratory. We do postmortem work, clinical work, and forensic drug work. So primarily my role is on the forensic side. I'm a forensic toxicologist.
And does your lab receive specimens from all across the country?
We do. We have clients in all 50 states. We do approximately half of the postmortem work in the United States, as well as a large number of clinical clients.
And is your lab accredited across several states and across the country?
We are, because we deal with all the states in the United States, all the states in the country. We are accredited by just about every accrediting body that I'm aware of in the clinical and forensic aspects, as well as a lot of state certifications. So a lot of states have their own requirements. The most notable one is like New York State. So we're accredited by, again, every accrediting body that I'm aware of.
Okay. And
The prosecutor is so redundant. It's almost unreal.
how long have you worked for NMS Laboratory?
4 years as of August 1st.
And what's your educational background as a forensic toxicologist?
I have a PhD in organic chemistry.
Where did you get that from?
The University of Nevada.
And do you have any other professional experience in this field prior to working for NMS?
I do. Before joining NMS Laboratories, I was a laboratory supervisor and then forensic toxicologist for the North Carolina Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, which is a statewide system. So we did the postmortem toxicology work for all 100 counties of the state of North Carolina.
And when it comes to your role in the forensic area of doing the toxicology testing, what is your role in the NMS lab when it comes to?
Is logged in and the assigned or the requested test assigned and then run and reviewed multiple times in the laboratory. When all that testing is completed, it comes to the toxicology department, and my role is to review every aspect of that case. So I'm making sure that everything on the toxicology report is complete and accurate, such as all the demographic information that we have available to us, the name of the decedent or the patient, date of birth, where it's from, the specimens that we received, and then also that all of everything that is reported is complete and accurate, making sure that all the drugs that were tested for are reported, and that the reported concentrations are correct and accurate, and looking at every.
Very confused why the prosecutor is calling 7 toxicologists to report the same results?
Laboratory uses a batch review workflow.
That is correct. So and that's not very efficient. I don't really know of any laboratory that does that anymore. So we will run cases, 10, 15, 30 or 40 at a time.
So as far as running a particular tests and getting the raw data, that's usually done by other people in the laboratory, correct?
That is correct.
And then you come in at the end and review everything and have the ability to interpret the data.
That is correct.
Your training and experience as a forensic toxicologist, does that allow you to interpret concentration levels of particular types of drugs?
It does.
Okay. Now, as far as the testing done at NMS laboratories, the traditional testing is kind of the drug testing, the panels for different common drugs, correct?
And typically we have clients request panels to be run where we're looking for, multiple drugs and classes of drugs at a time.
But are there circumstances when outside laboratories or outside individuals retain your lab in order to run specific tests?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, I'm going to draw your attention to this particular case. Was your laboratory provided a blood sample from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab in April of 2023?
I believe so. I'd really like to see the toxicology report so I can just confirm all of that, please.
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
You can hang on to that.
That's fine.
Okay. Correct. We received the specimens on April 7th, 2023.
Okay. And it came from the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab?
No. I don't know where they were initially sent from, but the client or the submitting agency is the District Attorney's Office of Plymouth.
Okay. Now, as it pertains to the requested testing that was done, was it that panel that you described, or was it more specific testing?
This is what we call direct testing, where they requested just 4 specific drugs to be tested for.
And what were the 4 specific tests requested?
Lamotrigine, mirtazapine, quetiapine, and trazodone.
Are you familiar with those substances or those drugs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you reviewed all of the data and information done at your lab in regards to these tests, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Were they able to identify concentration levels in the sample that was submitted for each one of those 4 substances?
Yes, ma'am. Per milliliter, quetiapine at a concentration of 1,800 nanograms per milliliter, and trazodone at a concentration of 0.44 micrograms per milliliter. And these were all.
Now, how would the jury know what that means?
Each drug that you just listed, are you familiar with what the common name is for the drugs?
I'm not always that great with common names, but I can wing it.
Okay. Well, the lamotrigine, and forgive me if I botched the pronunciation. That's also referred to commonly as Lamictal.
It is, correct, Lamictal.
What kind of drug is that?
It's typically used as an anti-seizure medication. So if somebody has a seizure disorder, it can be prescribed to alleviate seizures. But it is also used for bipolar disorder as well.
And mirtazapine, fair to say that's commonly referred to as Remeron.
Correct.
And what kind of drug is that?
That is typically an antidepressant.
And quetiapine, what's that common drug?
Quetiapine is known as Seroquel.
And fair to say that's an antipsychotic as well for bipolar?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with whether that often can be prescribed in low doses for sleep?
It is. It can be for insomnia.
And trazodone, what's the common name for trazodone, if you know?
I am drawing a blank on the trazodone.
If I suggest trazamine, is that familiar?
Not the one I'm most familiar with, and I apologize.
Okay. That's okay, but you're familiar with trazodone?
Correct, yeah.
And what class of drug is that?
That's an antidepressant.
Okay. Now, in your review of the levels that were detected in these 4 tests for each of these substances, do any of these levels appear to be outside therapeutic concentration?
This time, all right? So this will be a short break and we'll come right back. All right?
All right. Please go to the notebook, place them on the chairs.
So they're taking a short break right now. So basically, in Lindsay's system, she had Lamictal, she had Seroquel, she had Trazodone. They are saying she had Remeron in there as well, and she had benzos. I'm not sure where the prosecutor is going with this line of questioning, why she keeps, what was in the blood? What was in the blood? What was it? I mean, it's about 7 forensic toxicologists already to hit the stand. I don't understand it. But Kevin Reddington is going to set the stage for her having bipolar. He's going to definitely go with the bipolar defense and that she was misdiagnosed totally. Because postpartum psychosis, it's the worst within the first 2 to 12 weeks. By the time she killed her baby, he was 8 months old. So he's going to say she was schizoaffective, which is bipolar with psychotic features. They actually had her on Lamictal and Seroquel, 2 meds that treat bipolar and psychosis. So I'm not sure if the prosecutor can go with, well, even if it was that she was being properly medicated for that. This prosecutor, I don't know. I don't know what angle she's going. She's absolutely ridiculous. Seriously. Welcome, nurses. We are on a break right now, a short recess. This court takes a lot of breaks, but we're on a short recess right now. Another forensic toxicologist is on the stand, and they are really honing in on what was in Lindsay Clancy's blood. I've heard it so much through this trial since yesterday that I know she had Valium, Remeron, Lamictal, Seroquel, and Trazodone in her blood. Isn't Kevin Reddington just hilarious? He said she had all the PAMs in her blood, right? The PAM, the diazepam, lorazepam, diazepam. It's a metabolite, right? Oh, man, he's so frustrated with this prosecutor that he doesn't know what to do. He's very frustrated with the prosecutor. I mean, and I think most of us are, right? I think most of us are. And imagine being on the jury and hearing it was 1,800 nanograms of a milligram. I mean, even as nurses, right? Are we honestly, we're not measuring things in nanograms, milligrams. We're just not, she needs to be that's confusing, and it's not helping her case. Honestly, it's just really not. Sarah says this Pam, that Pam. That was so funny, right? Because Attorney Reddington is aggravated. So he's like, listen, we know she had all the Pams in there. So we don't need to talk about the Pams anymore. What else was in the blood? Absolutely hilarious. They take a lot of breaks here, but today was actually the first time that I saw where the judge looked like he might be a little agitated with the prosecution. She's dragging this out way longer than it has to be. You don't need, maybe you need two witnesses from the lab to get up there, forensic toxicologists to get up there and say, this is what was in the blood. You don't need 7 and to carry it out for 2 days. They got so frustrated yesterday, Lindsay dropped a bombshell, and her lawyer actually had her stipulate to all the evidence collected at the crime scene. She doesn't even want to dispute it because they had so many different cops and crime scene, this. She said, I'm agreeing with everything and the way it was collected. I'm not going to dispute the chain of command. I'm not going to, and how my blood was transported. It was mine. I'm not disputing anything. So we will see. And today is a short day for court. So we will see, but they take a lot of breaks here. I mean, it's 10:17, and this is I believe the third break for this court. See you on the side, see you on the side, sidebar, sidebar, sidebar. Like, it's just, it's too much, you know, and the witnesses, it's just too much. You know, you need a few experts from each area. She needs to get to her, you know, her main witnesses. She needs to get to the psychiatrist that treated her, and she needs to get to the actual MPs that treated her, you know, or nurses maybe that were with her, you know, her nurses in those facilities when she was at McLean Hospital, when she was, you know, over there in Rhode Island and she went to that program. You need to like start getting into the meat of it, because she's not disputing that she killed her children, you know, and it seems like the prosecution is trying to prove that she did it. I don't know. I mean, you just need to prove that she was sane when she did it. So you got to move this trial along. Kevin Reddington is so funny. And he's, you know, right now he's making headlines, and, you know, people are being turned off by how abrasive he is, how he's losing his cool with these witnesses. But I don't think it's so much towards the witnesses. I think he's frustrated with the way the prosecution is putting on the case. And so he's taking it out on the witnesses, except for those MDs. With that, I do not recall. He was frustrated with that. You know, he was frustrated with that. He lost his cool with them, and also with the cop from yesterday, the state trooper. He was frustrated with him. Like, you know, the fact that he didn't get any fingerprints, and it took him 15 minutes of testimony to say that. So he was agitated. Like, why didn't you just come up here and say, you know, you didn't get any fingerprints? If you are just coming in, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're reading comments here. You guys left some comments earlier, and I'm managing the chat, and I'm managing the chat, and I'm trying to hit the message so I can see it, and it's redacting them. But so repost them, but I could see it now actually. After the stipulation, does that mean the trial ends earlier? Yes, the trial is going to end earlier. They said it might even cut it in half. It was supposed to be 6 to 8 weeks. Might cut it down to 4. And so you know what that tells us? That tells us that this prosecutor most likely had probably about 10 to 15 more crime lab witnesses. You know, she's just overloading. There doesn't need to be 10 witnesses for one situation. Maybe one or two forensic toxicologists that handled the blood. One or two, like, it's just, she had 182 witnesses on her witness list. That's insane. Like, that's ridiculous. And the jury too, they're probably like, you know, like, listen, we're still on a break here. They're probably like, listen, all these medical terms. I mean, yesterday with the forensic psychologist, when they were first saying what was in her blood, as a nurse of many years, I was confused. Why? Because as nurses, we are not measuring things in manogram, nanogram. She should have had them break that down to a 6th grade reading level. Like, it was this much. It was like 3 pills of 200 milligrams worth. That would be the equivalent, you know, and then put up there how much Lindsay was prescribed versus how that converts to how much was in the blood. That would make more sense than nanograms. You know, as a nurse, I don't even think I've ever heard that, right? Because we're not working in a lab. So imagine what a regular lay person with no medical knowledge would think. Yes, it's going to cut it into half. She had 182 witnesses, and she's really dragging this out. You got to think, we haven't even got anywhere near any the expert witnesses who actually treated Lindsay. So we're talking about her NPs, her doctors. I mean, I don't know if her family's going to take the stand. Well, they wouldn't be taking it for the prosecution anyway, but we're still here stuck at the what happened, you know, with her in the hospital in the crime lab. We're still on a break. They must be going at it back there because Kevin Reddington is just so frustrated with what's going on. Today, the judge appeared frustrated as well. So we will see. Maria Guzman, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the live. Is it me or does, you know, a lot of, you know, listen, there's two sides of this Lindsay Clancy thing. If you've been following on the socials, there's two sides. She has a big, strong fan base of supporters that are supporting her and that want her, you know, to be put in a mental hospital, and not because she's not getting off. She's not, you know, getting out of here and going to live another life. But the other side, you know, people are mortified by what she did to her children. It was in a heinous manner. She you know, she murdered her own children. So for the longest time, up until yesterday, I realized it was two of them. I thought it was the same woman. They looked just alike. Just yesterday, I realized it was two of them because they kind of went to their bench, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not the same person. Her and her helper over there, they look alike. They look just alike, but she can't land the plane. And then she's, so what's your role? Where'd you go to school? What? It's like, lady, this is a national trial with millions and millions and millions of people watching from all over the country. What are you doing? This is the best the DA had to offer for this case, and they've had years to prepare. It's not acceptable. This is not acceptable. So I don't know, you know, she's losing. She's losing because she's confusing me, you know, with some of the things she's saying. And she just goes on and on and on and on. She doesn't like Kevin Reddington. He gets up there. He gets right to it, cross-examines very quickly. He's not, you know, going on and on like these breaks. We've been on break now for almost 10 minutes. Has it been 10 minutes? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please leave comments, like, and share for the dialogue when we're on our sidebar. Yeah, you know, Lindsay Clancy even wants this to be done, her and her lawyer, because we haven't even got to his case. You know, we haven't even got to the defense putting on his witnesses, but they did say this was expected to last 6 to 8 weeks. But since Lindsay said, I'm not disputing any more of the evidence. Yes, they collected it. Yes, it was mine. Yes, that's my blood. Let's move along. And that has to be coming from sheer frustration with the prosecution. I just can't believe this with the prosecution. We are still on sidebar. What do we think about the judge? What do we think about the judge and how he's handling this case? Every morning he starts court with, you know, did you watch any social media? Did you talk to anybody about this case? Keep an open mind, keep an open mind. When he kept saying, you know, you guys got to keep an open mind, I'm like, is he leaning towards, you know, I don't know. Judges are supposed to be impartial, but he says that a lot, and I picked up on that. He always says, I just want you to keep an open mind and look at the evidence. So, you know, most people are going in here knowing that she killed her children. So keep an open mind means, you know, let's weigh the fact that she might not have been, you know, totally sane, suffering from some sort of psychosis when she did this. Her attorney is 100%. You know, he said it several times. He brought up bipolar. He brought up mania. He brought up her exercising like, you know, like a maniac, being obsessed with her body, her being, you know, like a helicopter mom obsessed with her kids' schedules, like this, you know, this obsession, her cleaning out her garage, her excessive spending and things like that. He's setting the stage for her being misdiagnosed with postpartum psychosis or postpartum depression when it was really bipolar all along. The prosecution seems like, okay, Maria says she does. How do I get this off of there? Okay. Maria, hi Maria, says she doesn't get to point at all. So much going around. He's over the prosecution. Seems like he likes the defense. Lucy, I agree. Today he showed serious frustration with her. He's like, you know, he's like, listen. Like, come on. Like, they've been, you know, back there for a while now. So I don't know what's going on. I feel like that tells you a lot about how this whole investigation was performed from the crime scene to this trial. There are a lot of gaps. There really is. I mean, this happened in 2023. We're here in 2026 with a major case. And I just feel like the prosecution is just not prepared. This is all she should have been working on. You know, this is all she should have been working on. She's not prepared, and it's painful. Like, I look forward, you know, Kevin Reddington is being slandered, like, and bashed all over for how he's being aggressive with these witnesses, and people are really, you know, upset with him. They're like, he's rude, he's this, he's that. But I think, you know, his frustration is with the whole preparation. He's mad that, you know, doctors got on the stand and I don't recall. But I think those doctors were saying that because they were not trying to incriminate themselves, and he wasn't showing them the records. Of course, the prosecution had the notes and was walking up to them like, I don't blame them on that, because you don't want to get up there and say the wrong thing, especially when they say, what was her body temperature? Like, if I'm not looking at it, even if I did review the notes, okay, are we coming back? I think we might be coming back. I see some heads moving around there. Yeah, so the doctors are not wanting to incriminate, but he was very, like, he went off with those doctors. He's like, what do you mean you don't recall? This is a murder trial. Like, I understand you're busy, but this is a murder trial. He was frustrated there. It was the same with the EMT and paramedics. She brought all of them in the same questions over and over. Yeah, and what's this long, where'd you go to school? Where'd you do your undergrad? How many hours do you work? When do you work? Were you on overtime? Were you not on overtime? Were you, you know? Okay, you guys, we are back. I'm quiet. Let's get into watching.
All right, we all set for the jury?
Tell me they don't look alike. The two prosecutors, they look like twins. They might be.
Thanks.
Court, all rise. Jurors enter. This court's now in session. Please be seated.
For the purpose of the record, we return back to the trial of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. All parties are present, including Ms. Clancy and including the 18 jurors.
All right. All right. Counsel?
Thank you. Dr. Brower, before we broke, we mentioned the term therapeutic concentration. You familiar with that term?
Correct.
What does that mean?
It's the typical concentration that one would achieve when they're taking the medication or drug as indicated by their prescriber.
And And are you familiar with toxic concentrations or suicidal concentrations?
I am.
And what does that mean?
Those are concentrations that could lead to adverse events and potentially death.
Now, in relation to the 4 substances that were tested at the NMS laboratory, you identified the levels for each of the 4 substances. Were any of those concentration levels considered within therapeutic concentration?
It would all be in what I would say a therapeutic concentration, except maybe the quetiapine, which is slightly elevated.
Okay. And in your experience as a forensic toxicologist, have you had the occasion to review cases, post-mortem cases in which suicide was a mechanism of death where the person consumed medication?
Absolutely, yes.
And so that level of the quetiapine at the 800 nanograms per milliliter, would that have been in that toxic or suicidal level?
No, ma'am.
Would you generally expect to see that significantly greater in a suicide case?
Typically, quetiapines in suicide cases might be in the, close to 10,000 nanograms per milliliter. Usually people take handfuls of pills when they're trying to harm themselves and take their own life, and this is not consistent with that.
Now, are you also familiar in your training and experience with the class of drugs
Yes,
called
Maria.
benzodiazepines?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have the occasion to interpret data as it pertains to concentration levels for those?
Every single day.
And as far as the substances diazepam, noradiazepam, oxazepam, temazepam, lorazepam, you're familiar with those?
I am.
And it's fair to say noradiazepam, oxazepam, temazepam, those are all metabolites of diazepam?
Typically, yes, ma'am.
And what's the common name for diazepam?
Valium.
Okay. If I show you what's been marked as Exhibit 183 already.
Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere.
Can you see that on the screen beside you?
I can, yes.
Okay.
Right there.
Can you see the levels?
They're all blurry.
Yep, hold on one second. There we go.
My eyesight's not great, too, so
Okay, so
That's perfect.
That's the best I can do with the autofocus.
don't touch it.
Anything about the levels that you observed here regarding those substances, those benzodiazepines, that tell you that they're outside therapeutic concentration levels?
The diazepam and the nordazepam, oxazepam, and temazepam metabolites, the diazepam looks to be sub-therapeutic, meaning lower than what is typically expected from a therapeutic dose. Most therapeutic doses of diazepam, which is an anxiolytic drug or an anti-anxiety drug, are typically 200, 250 thereabouts. Nanogram per milliliter.
Wow. She
The
didn't take enough pills.
lorazepam,
She didn't really try to kill
depending
herself.
upon the dose, could be a
Wow.
therapeutic concentration, if
Wow.
not maybe a little bit lower than expected.
Okay. Thank you. Psychologist. Are there limitations on what you can say about the effects of these types of medications?
We can speak as to the general effects that drugs can have on the general population, but we try to restrict ourselves from saying with absolute certainty that a drug will have this effect on this specific person, because we just aren't there to witness their behavior.
Okay, so that was kind of the follow-up. So
I'm sorry.
What are the things that are the unknowns for you when you're just looking at data?
When we say that we can't do toxicology in a vacuum. You can't know everything about the case just by looking at numbers on the toxicology report and drugs on a toxicology report. You need other information to have an informed opinion. In the postmortem world, that would be the investigation itself, the history of the case, the scene findings, interviews with, families and friends of the decedent, as well as autopsy findings as well. In a case like this, where it's not a decedent, and the person is alive, you still need to know some facts of the case, some sort of history of the case, like what happened. So just numbers on a page, you can just make very generalized types of opinions, such as that looks to be therapeutic, it looks to be high, it looks to be low, and then again, just the general effects on the drugs on people.
And in this particular instance, you were not provided any further information about the case or the investigation in order to make any more opinions about effects.
I knew nothing about this case until we spoke, I think it was probably a few weeks ago.
And as far as the information available to you, you only had the data from the specimen that was tested, correct?
That is correct, just these 4 drugs that were requested to be tested for.
And as far as the drugs, the 4 drugs that were tested by your lab, what are the general characteristics of some of those drugs?
So these are generally antidepressants and antipsychotic medications. So if somebody had, the lamotrigine, if somebody has, say, bipolar disorder, like wide
Bipolar
mood swings,
again?
Depressive episodes,
This isn't helping her case.
or psychotic episodes, these drugs could be prescribed. They also have depressant effects, so they could make people become, lethargic or sleepy.
Okay. And would any of the combination of these drugs cause a person to stop breathing?
It's possible, especially the mirtazapine, quetiapine, the trazodone, and then the 2 other benzodiazepines. Those are all central nervous system depressants, so they could, in large combinations or large concentrations and in combination with each other, cause central nervous system depression, which could reduce people's respiration rates.
But in the levels that you observed in the testing that your lab did, as well as what I just showed you from Exhibit 183, is there anything about those concentration levels that would give you a sense that the person could have stopped breathing as a result of these?
Not necessarily, but if I had the information that, a patient presented to an emergency department and they had labored breathing and weren't breathing adequately, and I had this information, then you could probably tie all that together. But without that extra information, then generally no.
Based on the levels alone, you can't give any sort of opinion.
I would like to not.
Okay. And finally, are you familiar with the drug Narcan?
I am.
And what kind of effect does the drug Narcan have on a person who has consumed these drugs, if any?
None.
Just these drugs that we've talked about here today?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Absolutely nothing.
Yes, Narcan is for... Why is she bringing up Narcan? It's for opiates.
It is that Narcan wouldn't have an effect.
Narcan is an opioid overdose reversal agent. It is an opioid antagonist.
I agree, Jackie.
So it binds to
She's
the
trying to
opioid
lead the man.
receptors.
Just
So
let it be.
doesn't allow other opioids like, say, fentanyl or oxycodone to bind to those receptors to have
She didn't have
derivative
opiates
effects.
on board.
So it only
Why this line of
works
question?
on opioids. None of these drugs work on the opioid receptors, so Narcan would have no effect whatsoever on these drugs.
Okay, thank you.
Attorney Reddington.
All right, let's get to some real lawyering. I think she landed the plane.
Dr. Brower.
Crash landing, but she landed.
So one of the things that you had mentioned is that you, and I think I would quote you, I would like not to give an opinion without basically the underlying facts. In other words, what you're saying is that the numbers alone do not tell the tale of what happened to a particular individual, right?
Correct. They don't tell the entire story.
Right. And you're, for NMS Laboratory, you were
He's a better
retained
lawyer.
or working for the DA's office, these people here, right?
That was the submitting agency. Correct.
And they certainly were not constrained from picking up the phone and calling you and telling you that this is blood from a woman that threw herself out a window and tried to kill herself after cutting her wrists and her neck. They could have told you that, right?
Well, overruled.
It's possible that does happen in rare occasions in high-profile cases.
Right. And so that would have been something, for example, the facts that you wanted to know, that you would have liked to have known to kind of round out your opinion about the actual level of the drugs in the blood that you examined, right?
It's not necessary.
Well, it's not necessary, but you did indicate that you would like to not give an opinion without the facts.
Correct.
Okay.
Today.
From the witness stand?
Correct. I don't have all the information.
Of course.
Oh.
And the word therapeutic, is that consistent with, in other words, the treatment level of a particular narcotic or drug in the blood?
Correct. It's the concentration of the drug in the body to elicit an effect or the desired effect.
He about to land his plane very quickly. Why didn't they tell the man everything he needed to know? Why did they withhold some information about the case? No good. This lawyer is like a TV lawyer, right? Like we watching an episode of, like we watching A Few Good Men. He about to land this plane quickly. Wow. He's a way better attorney. What was the line of questioning about Narcan for? I don't get it.
She's trying to find the record.
Fall now.
As it relates to the therapeutic level, sir, is it your understanding that the lorazepam, perazepam, clonazepam, the counsel had asked you about the benzodiazepines were within therapeutic? Thank you. Were in therapeutic level?
I'm sorry, I had trouble hearing you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They were within therapeutic level.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the entire question?
Sure. What is lamotrigine?
Lamotrigine is typically used as an anti-seizure medication and could also be used for bipolar disorder.
Okay. Do you have the results for your lab in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Toxicology? Yeah, you can read along just so you can refresh your memory if it helps. The lamotrigine, it says 6.1. What does that mean?
6.1 micrograms per milliliter. So there were 6.1 micrograms of lamotrigine per milliliter of blood.
All right.
Who would
Is
know what that means?
above therapeutic, below therapeutic, or therapeutic?
It's right in the middle of the therapeutic range.
So if somebody had a prescription, for example, for that narcotic or that drug, then they were taking the drug according to the recommended dose, right?
And that's what it would appear to me if they were prescribed it, correct?
How about the mirtazapine?
The mirtazapine also looks to be probably used appropriately as prescribed.
And you need a prescription for that, don't you?
Yes, you need
my
a prescription
God.
for all four of these drugs.
Okay. And what is there another name for mirtazapine?
Remeron.
Remeron. All right. And what is the purpose, or what do you use Remeron for?
It's an antidepressant.
How about the quetiapine is the number 3?
The quetiapine is also known as Seroquel, and that is generally used as an antipsychotic.
And what does that mean when you say an antipsychotic? What does that mean?
So somebody has psychotic episodes, say like hallucinations or just not seeing reality.
Wow. So she was taking her meds as prescribed.
They could be prescribed quetiapine as an antipsychotic to try to kind of level out their brain chemistry.
And what was the result on the quetiapine?
1,800 nanograms per milliliter.
Now, is that within therapeutic? Is that below or high?
It looks high to me, depending upon the dosage.
Okay. And trazodone is the next one. What is that?
Trazodone is also an antidepressant.
And what's the result on that?
Oh, I'm sorry, 0.44 micrograms per milliliter.
Okay. And is that therapeutic, below therapeutic, or above therapeutic?
I would say that's a therapeutic concentration.
Okay. So basically, with the exception of the quetiapine that was 1,800 nanograms per... What is a nanogram? What does that mean? Nanograms per milliliter. What does that mean?
Yes,
it's
please.
a very, very small amount. It's 1/millionth of a milligram.
Okay. And that's how you measure the quantity of a particular substance that would be in a person's blood, correct?
In the blood, correct.
So on the quetiapine at 1,800 nanograms per milliliter. That's the only one that was not therapeutic. That was a little higher than therapeutic. Is that correct?
Correct. It's approximately maybe double what you might expect. So it's, when I say it's a little elevated, it's not in a concentration that I would consider to be necessarily toxic or lethal.
Okay.
Wow.
And you don't know, working for NMS Labs, or
So she was taking her meds.
whether or not a person had
As
a prescription
prescribed.
for these drugs, or when they got the prescription, or who gave them the prescription. You don't know that, right?
I have none of that information, no.
You could have known that if somebody had told you
Yes,
that, but you
Jackie.
don't know it from looking
Straight
at
to
the
the
numbers
point.
that we have here, right?
Correct. It's possible if they would have given us that information. We don't always need to have it, though.
This is what I had offered for Dale's objective.
She was taking her meds.
Can I just see it again first?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
The prosecution never put this man on the stand. He actually.
If we can just approach briefly on the issue.
Yeah.
Oh, man. This witness is not helping her case. Like, at first it looked like it was going good. And then, you know, like she was about to land the plane, and then she starts talking about Narcan and opiates. Like, where did that even come from? Her whole thing in the beginning was that Lindsay Clancy was not taking her meds, and a big bag of meds were found. But according to this, at the time of these crimes, that's what was prescribed, and they are all in her system. So she was taking all of those medications. Wow, this is a big turn. And then he gets right there with Kevin Reddington and says these are therapeutic doses. You know, it supports her claim that Lindsay did not take enough pills to try to kill herself, right? She didn't have enough pills in her system to try to kill herself. Now, she didn't have enough pills in her system to try to kill herself. So we know Lindsay wasn't really trying to unalive herself. Like, let's be real about that. She's a nurse. She knew what to do to, make that happen. She wasn't really trying to kill herself, but she was taking these medications. They're all therapeutic except for the Seroquel. And she was on a high dose of Seroquel. She was on 300 milligrams of Seroquel. And then I think, don't quote me, but I think it went up to 400 at one time. So she was on Remron, she was on Lamictal, she was on Trazodone and Seroquel, and then she had some Valium on board. How was she even functioning with all those meds in her system? And they were therapeutic. So now that totally crushes the prosecution's theory that she wasn't taking these medications. Only thing he helped her with was it wasn't enough in there to try to kill herself. But she didn't even think about the fact that it's going to debunk her saying she wasn't taking the meds. Wow. She should never put this man on the stand as her witness ever. And then he said he knew nothing about the case, and they called him a couple of weeks ago. Why are you calling somebody a couple of weeks ago before a trial that's supposed to start? A major national case, and it's been going on for 3 years. This is why she's because they haven't really had time to prep these witnesses and get it together. Kevin Reddington is a better lawyer. Oh my. This doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for the prosecution. Especially with her being compliant with her meds. She was compliant with the meds. Okay, I think we got some action here. Okay, we're back.
All right, so we're going to introduce that exhibit at this time.
Thank you. So just if I may, Susan, approach, which basically is a...
I agree, Maria.
That's
Too many
lab
gaps,
report.
too many
Same
unanswered
as this one.
questions.
Same numbers on the top, right? Where the square is?
Correct.
Same numbers. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
All right. Yeah, Commonwealth?
Just, Dr. Brower, you, in fact, once got this case for review, you authored a corrected report in regards to this case, correct?
Correct.
At this point, I would move to admit the report. As
No
submitted.
objection.
All right, that may be admitted as well.
Thank you. Nothing further.
I have nothing further. Thank you, sir.
All right. All right, thank you, Doctor.
Am I released?
You're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Watch yourself.
He didn't help her.
Move to submit 4 stipulations the parties have entered into. The first being a stipulation regarding DNA known standard samples. The second being a stipulation regarding DNA evidence for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain on the basement floor. The third being the stipulation regarding DNA evidence for the yellow exercise band and the black exercise band. And the fourth being a stipulation regarding DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain in the basement.
That's right. We don't need to have all those witnesses.
All right, so those stipulations may be entered as
He
exhibits.
said we don't need all those witnesses. He trying to move this along. He absolutely crushed her right there, and I thought she had something.
Counsel, do you want those published or read to the jury, or satisfied that they'll have those? And the parties can refer to the contents of the stipulations.
Satisfied with their end. Yep.
The only one we would like to have read to the jury, I'm sorry, are you all set? Take your time.
That's on me. I kind of jumped in there. I'm sorry.
Exhibits 208 through 211. Would be the exhibit 211, the stipulation regarding the comparisons for the blue band and the red-brown stain.
Yeah, I don't. If she wants you to read it, I don't have
Sure.
a problem.
Yeah.
I think it was defense that wanted you to read it. I'm fine
Well,
reading it.
so members of the jury, remember, I think it was yesterday or the day before, I talked a little bit about those stipulations. So the same instructions. All right, these are facts that I'm going to read that the parties have agreed to, that you can rely on in arriving at your verdict at the end of this case. This is one of 4 that was just introduced. You'll have all 4 of them with you back in the jury. Parties would like me to just read this one here. All right, so this is a stipulation regarding the DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain. It was marked A. Now, in the above captioned matter, the parties agree to the following facts as it pertains to the DNA comparisons for the blue exercise band and the red-brown stain A in the basement. Number 1, forensic scientist Emily Oliver reviewed and interpreted the data relating to the question items, parentheses, item 2-4, blue exercise band, and item 3-3, the red-brown stain A from the basement floor, close parentheses, and conducted comparison analysis to the known standards in this case. Number 2, the parties agreed to the following conclusions regarding comparison analysis of these items. A, item 2-4.1.1, sample from the ends of the blue exercise band. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. There are 5 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicates an inclusion in the profile. They are Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Cora Clancy, Lindsay Clancy, and Patrick Clancy. B, item 2-4.2.1, sample from the middle of the blue exercise band. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. Callan Clancy is included as a major contributor. And C, item 3-3.1, sample of swabs from the red-brown stain A on the basement floor. The DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. Cora Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. So that's the stipulation that the parties have agreed to.
Oh.
And
She was
one last
bleeding, the little
stipulation
girl.
to be marked,
Choked her so
as
hard,
the
she
next
was
exhibit,
bleeding.
The stipulation regarding
Ooh.
the batch work
Heinous.
done at NMS Labs. We're not
Heinous.
asking that this be read at this
Okay,
time.
all right.
The Commonwealth would call Katerina Stashin.
Please, not another forensic toxicologist. Oh, she got her little notes. She's prepared.
You stop right there, raise your right hand for the pledge, please.
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant of I shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. You can have a seat, ma'am.
Watch your step, please.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. All right. Attorney Sprague, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Good morning. My name is Katerina Stashin. My first name is spelled Katarina. Last name is spelled Stashin.
And can you describe for us your educational background?
I have a bachelor's and master's degree in biotechnology from the University of Nevada, Reno.
And what is your occupation?
I'm currently employed by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Forensic Science Division, which is located in Reno, Nevada. I'm a criminalist in the biology and forensic investigation sections.
Back in January of 2023, where were you working?
I previously worked for the Massachusetts State Police Crime Laboratory as a forensic scientist in the DNA unit, which is functionally the same role that I currently
We're
have
back
in
here
the
again
biology
with the
section.
crime lab.
And
I'm sorry. We agreed to the DNA. I'm just letting you know that.
Okay, all right.
and I'm just
Attorney Sprague?
giving that evidence to the jury.
Go ahead.
So when did you start working for the state police?
I worked for the Massachusetts State Police from June 2021 to February of 2025.
And what was the nature of your work for the lab at that time?
As a DNA analyst, I processed evidence items obtained either from a crime
agreed.
scene
Why
or
is she
from
on the
an
stand?
individual
I don't get it.
associated with a criminal investigation. These items of evidence would be processed through the laboratory. I then would perform interpretations, comparisons as needed, write reports. I also could perform administrative reviews of other analysts' work and provide expert witness testimony as needed.
And part of your employment at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, did you take competency tests and proficiency tests to guarantee
my
that
God,
you
prosecutor.
were capable and proficient
Why?
in the areas you were working?
Yes, I took both competency tests after my training and proficiency tests throughout my career at Massachusetts and at my current role.
And have you passed all of those tests?
Yes, I have passed all competency and proficiency tests that I've taken so far in my career.
Can you tell us what is DNA?
DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, and this is genetic information that is stored in our cells. This is information that makes us who we are, determines how we develop and grow. A person's DNA
If they agree
is
to the
inherited
DNA, why are we
approximately half
here
from
with
their
this
mom
witness?
and half from their dad. DNA is forensically relevant because it is expected that no two individuals will have the same forensic DNA profile.
And is DNA the same in every single cell in a person's body?
Yes, the DNA profile obtained from different cells, different cell types, like a blood cell or from a saliva cell or cell in your saliva, would have the same DNA profile, barring your mutation.
And can you explain generally the process used to analyze evidence, in this case, the testing involving the defendant, Lindsay Clancy?
The items tested in this case and in all cases will go through a 4-step laboratory process of extraction, quantification, amplification, and detection, and then profiles developed from that laboratory process will be interpreted and compared.
Can you just briefly explain what is extraction and how it's done?
Extraction is the first step of that laboratory process that involves applying a variation of heat and chemicals to a sample. This breaks open cells that are present and releases the DNA and then isolates that DNA.
And was the next step quantification?
Yes.
And what is that and how do you do that?
Quantification is the second step when we determine a reliable estimate for the amount of DNA in those samples that were extracted, and those values are then used to optimize the rest of the process with the goal to obtain a quality profile for that sample.
And the third step, amplification, can you explain that?
Amplification is when we make millions and millions of copies of certain areas of DNA to make it able to be detected and visualized.
And then detection, what is that?
And then the fourth step is separation or detection. This is where we separate out all those millions and millions of copies that we made to make them visual. This produces a DNA profile that an analyst is then able to review and interpret.
And when you worked at the Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab, were there certain standardized protocols and procedures that you used at that lab?
Yes.
And were there controls used in your testing?
Yes.
What does that mean?
So there are two different types of controls that were used in our testing. The first is
This
a positive
questioning is
control.
unnecessary.
This is a sample that contains a known DNA profile, and it is processed alongside evidence samples. So when that known DNA profile is obtained at the end of the process,
How
it
can you prep
confirms that the process
180
is working
witnesses?
appropriately. The second
Yes.
type of control is a negative control, and
Should
this
have
is a
got more
sample that
impactful
contains no
witnesses.
DNA that is also processed alongside evidence samples,
No.
and this is able to
I agree, Anne Marie. Lindsay already agreed to DNA. Why is this forensic scientist on the stand?
Or did it?
Yes, all work goes through 2 stages of review, technical review and administrative review.
The prosecution is going to have the jury exhausted. It's too many witnesses saying the same thing. If Lindsay already said, the DNA is mine, I'm not disputing it. Why is this witness on the stand?
Another analyst reviews that file, all of the documentation and the report for overall clerical accuracy and completeness.
And when you worked on lab number 23-01723, evidence involved in the deaths of Cora Clancy, Dawson Clancy, and Callan Clancy, did you follow the standardized protocols and procedures?
Yes.
Were there any issues with the controls that were present when you did this testing?
All controls were acceptable per the laboratory protocols.
And did your work undergo and pass that review process you just described?
Yes, all work went through both technical and administrative review.
And if we could talk specifically about the work that you did in this case, first, I'd like you to talk about your work done on the yellow exercise band and the black exercise band. Now, you didn't actually handle those items, correct?
I did a portion of the laboratory work for those samples, but I did not handle the actual bands themselves. I handled swabs of those bands.
So at some point in time in the lab, someone took swabs from those bands, and then that was forwarded to the DNA unit, the swabs?
Yes.
Okay. And specifically, there was item 2-2.1.1, swabs from the ends of the yellow exercise band, and item 2-2.2.1, swabs from the middle of the yellow exercise band, correct?
Could I refer to my report to confirm that?
Any objection?
Of course.
Thank you.
I have no idea why this woman is on the stand.
Yes.
And when doing your comparison work, did you also use some DNA profiles that had been generated in the lab for Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy?
Yes, I utilized known standards that were developed from those individuals.
And known standards, are those basically the DNA profiles for each of those individuals?
Yes, known standards are samples collected directly from a known individual for comparison purposes.
Okay. And going to item 2-2.1.1, the swabs from the ends of the yellow exercise band, what were your findings?
So I'm going to start with a general statement for this report as a whole. The presence of multiple first-degree relatives in a mixture DNA profile can impact overall interpretation, including the determination of the number of contributors and likelihood ratios. Relatedness was considered for the following results. For item 2-2.1.1, sample from ends of yellow exercise band located in basement office, 47 Summer Street. The DNA profile is a mixture, including male DNA. Due to the possible relatedness of low-level contributors to this profile, an alternate number of contributors was considered. First, assuming 2 contributors. The DNA profile is a mixture of at least 2 contributors, including male DNA. Contributors 1 and 2 are suitable for comparison. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.7 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile. Assuming 3 contributors. The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors. Contributor 1 is suitable for comparison. Due to limited information and possible relatedness of contributors, contributors 2 and 3 are not suitable for comparison. The DNA profile from this item is at least 920 octillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3.
How would the jury understand this? I'm having trouble following
this DNA profile. Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from contributor 1 of this DNA profile.
I'm going to ask you a few questions about what you've just told us. You mentioned the effect of relatedness. What does that mean?
So, as I mentioned,
Lindsay's not disputing that she killed her kids. I don't understand this line of questioning.
So this means that there's a lot of DNA shared between relatives, including between parent and children and between siblings. So this can affect the determination of the number of contributors. So when I review the profile to see how many people are in that profile, because there's so much DNA that is shared. So taking that into account, I did 2 different interterpretations, first assuming 2 contributors,
Maria.
And the second assuming 3 contributors,
what are we even
again, just due
listening
to the
to?
complexity of relatedness.
None of this is being
and its effect
disputed.
on
Bring
this
on the
profile,
nurses that took care of her. Bring
especially
on the
low-level contributors.
psychiatrist that was her
And
actual
would it be correct to
psychiatrist.
state that when there is this level of relatedness where you have 2
Why are
parents
they
and 3
dragging this?
siblings, that you can have false exclusions?
If there is an under-assignment of the number of contributors, meaning that the number of contributors is incorrectly assigned lower than it actually is, which is a possibility with relatedness because you're working with less information because that information is shared, the under-assigning could lead to false exclusions of true contributors.
Could you also miss some people to include?
Due to the effects of relatedness, it could be difficult to determine number of contributors simply because so much information is shared. Therefore, it is more complex when assigning this number.
And for item 2-2.1.1, the ends of the yellow exercise band, whether you considered 2 contributors or 3 contributors, both of your findings find that Dawson Clancy was a contributor, a potential contributor.
Both propositions, either 2 contributors or 3 contributors, had high inclusionary stats for Dawson Clancy, correct?
Okay. What's a nonillion?
A nonillion is a very large number.
Do you know how many people are on Earth?
I know it's...
This is typical DNA gobbledygook at this point, Judge.
Well, I object to his objection.
That's
Ridiculous.
overruled. Go ahead.
They're going to talk
You can
about
ask.
non-millions and how many
Counsel, can I see you over at sidebar?
Oh, I mean, we're with him though. It's ridiculous at this point. Like, it's ridiculous, and you're confusing the jury. Listen, I'm with Attorney Reddington here. Like, where are you going with this? She already agreed that the DNA, she's not disputing it. Why is this forensic scientist on the stand talking about nano versus mano versus how many people are on Earth and all? Like, please stop this. I don't understand. I'm very confused as to where she's going. Lindsay Clancy is not disputing that she killed her children. So why are we even here? To move this along, she's even said, I'm not disputing any of the DNA evidence. Let them have it. What Lindsay Clancy is disputing is the fact that she was in her right mind when she did these killings. Like, it's simple. I don't understand what's going on here.
Is that more than there are people on the earth?
That is more individuals that are on the earth, but I would like to clarify that a likelihood ratio is not a random match probability or a rarity of that profile. A likelihood ratio is a ratio that describes the probability of observing the DNA profile if a certain person is included versus the probability of observing that DNA profile if a certain person is excluded or if it is another unknown, unrelated individual.
And you said 9 million is a very high number, correct?
Yes, that's a very large number in my opinion.
So it's a very large probability that Dawson Clancy is a contributor to that mixture.
It is a large likelihood ratio that provides support for the inclusion of Dawson Clancy to the profile.
And then going to item 2-2.2.1, the swabs from the middle of the exercise band, what were your findings for that?
The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 2 contributors, including male DNA. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.5 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown, unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 3.6 million times more likely if it originated from Callan Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown, unrelated individuals. This provides support that Callan Clancy is included as a contributor to this profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.4 billion times more likely if it originated from Patrick Clancy and an unknown individual than if it originated from 2 unknown, unrelated individuals. This provides support that Patrick Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Cora Clancy and Lindsay Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile. The mixture DNA
This witness
profile
is
from this
definitely
item is
not
consistent
necessary.
with having originated
This is ridiculous.
from 2 individuals. There are 3 individuals who have a likelihood ratio that indicates an inclusion. Though there is support for the individual inclusions of Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, and Patrick Clancy to the mixture DNA profile, under the stated assumptions, these individuals cannot be present in the mixture together. Assuming 1, 2 contributors, and 2, Dawson Clancy is one of the contributors, Callan Clancy and Patrick Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Support for inclusion may be impacted by mixtures which contain relative, especially first degree relatives.
If I was on the jury, I'd be confused
Refer to
right
the
now.
independent inclusionary statistics above.
So this swab from the middle of the yellow exercise band, you stated was a mixture of 2 contributors, 2 people, correct?
Yes, I determined using my training and experience that the profile was a mixture of 2 contributors.
And then you had 3 possible contributors, Dawson, Callan, and Patrick, for the 2-person mixture. So is it accurate that that relatedness issue was having an effect on those, on that data or that result?
Yes, relatedness of potential contributors was having an effect on this profile. And that is because so much DNA is shared
Look at the
between
judge.
potential contributors.
Like, what's going on?
You stated at the end that if Dawson Clancy is one of the contributors, then Callan Clancy and Patrick Clancy cannot be present together in that mixture, correct?
Correct.
And Dawson Clancy was the one who had the 1.5 nonillion times more likely if it originated from him, correct?
Yes, the likelihood ratio for Dawson was 1.5 nonillion.
And would it be accurate to state that with male relatives, they share the same YSTR profile.
Yes, male relatives will share the same YSTR profile, barring rare mutation, but YSTR analysis was not done in this case.
Okay. And does that fact, when you have male relatives, does that affect the relatedness complications of your evaluation?
The fact that they're male doesn't necessarily have an effect, but just in general, relatedness has an effect in this case because so much DNA is shared between potential contributors.
And then going to item 2-3.1.1, the swabs from the ends of the black exercise band, you found that that sample was a mixture but wasn't suitable for comparison, correct?
Correct.
And what does it mean to be not suitable for comparison?
I'll read the statement in the report and then I'll clarify.
I agree, Jackie. I am lost
the DNA
too.
profile
Why
is
is
a
this
mixture,
witness here?
including male DNA, and is not suitable for comparison.
Lindsay already said it's her DNA. Why are we here with this? She's not disputing it. This is ridiculous.
Was it not suitable for comparison because there were so many potential?
And we're nurses here and we're confused, but we're not DNA specialists. Imagine lay people on the jury.
That made this profile not suitable. Relatedness was definitely one of those factors, and per laboratory protocols and validation, if there is any indication of a fifth contributor or more, a profile is not suitable for comparison due to limitations of our technology and software used.
Okay. So basically, if you're examining a profile and it looks like there's 5 or more, your work stops because of the limitations of your equipment.
Correct.
And then going to item 2-3.2.1, the swabs from the middle of the exercise band, what were your findings there?
The DNA profile was interpreted as a mixture of 3 contributors, including male DNA. The DNA profile from this item is at least 870 trillion times more likely if it originated from Dawson Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Dawson Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 1.6 nonillion times more likely if it originated from Cora Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides support that Cora Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 2,600 times more likely if it originated from Callan Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals.
I'm curious to see where the prosecution is going with this.
As a contributor
What
to
is
this
she?
DNA profile.
What's going to be her punchline here?
The DNA profile from this item is at least 220,000 times more likely if it originated from Patrick Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated
Yes, she was
individuals.
taking her meds.
This provides support that Patrick Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The DNA profile from this item is at least 11 times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy and 2 unknown individuals than if it originated from 3 unknown unrelated individuals. This provides limited support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. The Massachusetts State Police Crime Lab DNA Unit validation studies showed inclusions for known non-contributors in the likelihood ratio range of at least 2 to 1,000 adventitious support could be attributed to this conclusion. The mixture DNA profile from this item is consistent with having originated from 3 individuals. There are
Now I know she's not going to read this whole booklet.
Though there is support for the individual inclusions of Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy to the mixture DNA profile, under the stated assumptions, these individuals cannot be present in the mixture together. Assuming 1, 3 contributors, and 2, Cora Clancy is one of the contributors, Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Support for inclusion may be impacted by mixtures which contain relatives, especially first-degree relatives. Refer to the independent inclusionary statistics above.
And so again here, you're dealing with the effect of the relatedness of the parties, correct?
Correct. Relatedness is having an effect on potential contributors, again, to this profile. I'd just like to say that likelihood ratios are calculated independently for each person. They are not to show a likelihood ratio for more than one person or multiple people together in a profile. And again, because so much DNA is shared between potential contributors, that is why we're seeing some of the things we're seeing in this report.
And for this item, the middle of the black exercise band, the highest number of possible.
This is painful. This is painful.
Inclusion was the 1.6 million times more likely if it originated from Cora Clancy and 2 unknown individuals, correct?
Yes, the highest statistic for this item was a likelihood ratio of 1.69 million for Cora Clancy.
And based on your analysis of the data that you had, you determined it was a mixture of 3 contributors, correct?
Correct.
And so when you have the 3 contributors and Cora Clancy has the highest likelihood of being a contributor, if you include her in the mixture, the other 4 members of the family are excluded, correct?
Assuming 1, 3 contributors, and 2, Cora Clancy is one of the contributors, Dawson Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy cannot be present in the mixture together. Again, those statistics are all calculated independently and don't say anything about those people being in the mixture together.
Okay. And moving on to some other work you did in this case, specifically some swabs from the back side of the house, some shingles on 47 Summer Street in Duxbury, items 14-1, 14-2, and 14-3. Did you do work on those samples as well and compare them to the known profiles of Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, Patrick Clancy, and Lindsay Clancy?
Your Honor, may I refer to my second report for these items? Yes. Thank you. Yes, I did work on those items in my second report.
And directing your attention to item 14-1, a swab from stain B on the back side of the house, 47 Summer Street. What were your findings regarding that swab?
The female DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. The DNA profile from this item is at least 18 octillion times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, and Patrick Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile.
And so unlike the samples and profiles we talked about earlier, this sample 14-1, the swab from stain B, wasn't a mixture, correct? It was just one person's DNA?
Correct. This was a single contributor profile.
And your findings was that Lindsay Clancy is at least 18 octillion times more likely if it...
Okay, we know Lindsay Clancy jumped out the window and that's her blood.
Profile from this item is at least 18 octillion times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile.
And so it's support that she's included as a contributor to this.
I understand, Jackie. I get it.
Correct.
Stay on. Let's see what
there's support
Reddington
with
says.
a likelihood ratio
Court's
of
going to be over in 30 minutes
for Lindsay Clancy.
And the other members of the family were excluded, correct?
Correct.
And then item 14-2, the swab from stain C on the backside of the house, 47 Summer Street. That profile was a mixture and not suitable for comparison, correct?
Correct. The DNA profile is a mixture and is not suitable for comparison due to the quality of the profile.
And what does it mean when something is not suitable due to the quality of the profile?
This was a low-level profile with not enough information to be interpreted.
Do you have to have a certain level of information in the data to make findings based on your protocols and procedures at the lab?
Yes, there are protocols and procedures that determine how we can determine our number of contributors, and therefore if there's not enough information, a profile is not suitable for interpretation or comparisons.
And then item 14-3, the swab from stain D on the back of the home, 47 Summer Street. What were your findings for that swab?
The female DNA profile was interpreted as originating from a single contributor. The DNA profile from this item is at least 96 trillion times more likely if it originated from Lindsay Clancy than if it originated from an unknown, unrelated individual. This provides support that Lindsay Clancy is included as a contributor to this DNA profile. Dawson Clancy, Cora Clancy, Callan Clancy, and Patrick Clancy are excluded from this DNA profile.
And again, this is a single contributor, so the DNA profile of one person was found on the swab, correct?
Correct.
I have nothing further, thank you.
Reddington? All right. Thank you, Ms. Step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
No questions from the defense because he didn't dispute it.
The Commonwealth would call Elaine Rossi as its next witness.
Please, not another DNA or forensic psychiatrist or scientist, please. Not another one, please.
Good morning. Please stop right there. Raise your right hand for the clerk, please.
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the court are coming between the Commonwealth and the defendant of the should be the truth?
I'll just stop right there, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. All right. Counsel.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please tell the jurors your first and last name?
My first name is Elaine Rossi,
Can you spell your last name for the record?
Rossi.
And what city or town do you live in?
I live in Kingston.
What do you do for work?
I'm a nanny.
How long have you
Okay, a nanny. Let's get into
been a
it.
nanny?
For about 15
Now we're getting somewhere.
years now.
In July of 2022, did you become familiar with the Clancy family?
I did.
And how did you become involved with their family?
I answered a Facebook advertisement seeking a part-time nanny position.
And who posted that advertisement?
Lindsay did.
And did she respond to your message?
I responded to her message.
Right. And so you said you were interested, right?
I did.
And then did she respond to you?
She did.
So did you have then communication back and forth with her about possibly taking on a nannying position for their family?
Yes, we did.
Okay. That was on July 22nd of 2022 that initial back and forth occurred, correct?
Correct.
And as a result of your initial communication with her, did you end up setting up a time to come meet their family?
We did.
And how did that happen? Where did you meet them?
I met at their residence in the backyard of their home.
And that would be 47 Summer Street in Duxbury?
Correct.
And when you went to their home, were you able to meet the children?
Yes.
And how many children were there?
3.
And who were they?
Cora, Dawson, and Callan.
And present at that meeting that you had in their backyard were also Patrick and Lindsay Clancy?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of kind of meeting at their home in the backyard?
It was to get familiar with the kids, just for an introductory meeting. I got to hold Callan and play with Cora and Dawson a little bit and talk to Lindsay and Patrick.
And so at that time, Cora was 4, right?
Yes.
And Dawson was 3.
Yes.
And Callan was an infant.
Yes.
Now, as a result of your kind of interview or interaction with them, what eventually happened with your relationship with the Clancys? Did you become their nanny?
I did.
And did you communicate with Lindsay about what the expectations of the job were going to be?
I did.
So what was your role or your expectations of the role?
My role was to take care of Callan when she went back to work.
Okay, and did you know when that was expected to happen?
I believe right around Thanksgiving.
And did you start working for them prior to that? Prior to November?
Yes, I did. I started first week in September of 2022.
And so while the original terms were for you to primarily watch Callan, did you take on a slightly different role in between September and November?
I did.
And so what were the responsibilities, or what did the Clancys ask you to do for the family during the time of September through essentially when you stopped working for them?
It was to get to know the family, to get to know how they worked as a family, to get to know their schedule, and essentially mostly to take care of Callan. Occasionally, Cora and Dawson would be home, and I would interact with them as well.
So going into it, you knew that you would sometimes be spending time with Cora and Dawson.
Yes.
But to your understanding, were they at the home all the time?
No, they were at school.
And other than caring for Callan, did you agree to take on some other responsibilities in the household?
I did.
And what were those responsibilities?
It was food prep, light housekeeping, laundry, things like that.
Was that something that you offered to do as part of your services, or were you asked to do it?
I offered initially. I said those were things I did as a nanny for previous families.
And what was your expected schedule going to be for the Clancys?
It was 3 days a week. I believe it was 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.
And was the 3 days a set schedule, or was the expectation that it might change?
Initially it was set, and then it changed.
As far as your original expectation, fair to say, you were originally asked to do Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays?
Correct.
And then as you started working for them, you were asked to kind of adjust some of the days?
Yes.
And was that something that you could do?
If I could, I would.
And how about the time? You said from 8:30 to 1:30. Were the times flexible too?
Yeah, sometimes it was 9 to 1:30. That was about the only difference.
Okay.
It was about a half hour.
And how would you communicate with Lindsay?
So we communicated via text a lot. Lindsay also had a notebook in her kitchen.
The yellow notebook.
Oh, she would leave notes for me for the activities or the instructions for me for the day.
Okay. And you started, you said, the week of Labor Day. That was your first week with the Clancy family, right? And primarily during that week, did you care for Callan?
Yes, I did.
Did they come to call you something particular as far as like a nickname?
They called me Lainey.
Okay. And that was something the kids called you as well as Patrick and Lindsay?
Yes.
So...
I heard her name before. It came up with a yellow notebook.
So I'm going to just show you what's been marked as Exhibit 150.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
If you want to just take a quick look inside of it. You can flip through the pages if that's helpful.
Okay.
Does the handwriting in that notebook look familiar to you?
It does.
And fair to say there's two different handwritings, right? Did you come to know one of the handwritings as Lindsay's handwriting?
I thought all of it was Lindsay's.
Okay, but as far as the second set of handwriting, do you recognize?
Oh, It's mine.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. And so is this the notebook that you would kind of communicate with her back and forth about Callan and his schedule?
It is.
And fair to say she left you pretty detailed instructions
She did.
on his care.
Yes, she did.
And you were aware that she was very particular about sleep and food and keeping on a schedule, right?
Yes.
And so that's the purpose of this notebook.
Yes.
When you would come to the household in the morning, would you often interact with Lindsay prior to taking care of taking the baby?
Sometimes if she was there, I would interact with her. Some mornings she wasn't there.
If she wasn't there, was Patrick home?
Yes.
And did you know where she was when she wasn't there?
Sometimes she'd leave in the notebook that she was in the basement working out. Sometimes she'd drop the kids off to school.
And would you often see her throughout the day when you were there from your 9 to 1 shift?
Yes.
But there would be times when you would see her come back to the home?
Yes.
And in those times when she left, sometimes she had the other 2 children with her, correct?
Correct.
And sometimes she did not.
No.
At times, were you left with all 3 children?
I think on one occasion I was.
And would you get there before or after Cora and Dawson would be off to school, usually?
Most times I would be pulling in the driveway and they would be waiting to say goodbye to me or hello to me.
And you're aware that they did not have school on Tuesdays, right? Were you aware?
I don't remember, sorry.
Okay. When you started working for the Clancy family, was there conversation with Lindsay about Callan not taking a bottle?
I don't remember that.
Did you often feed him a bottle when you were caring for him?
I did.
And do you recall at one point that you actually videoed Callan taking a bottle and sent it to Lindsay?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes.
And that would have been on September 9th, correct?
Yes.
At this point, Your Honor, I'd like to just play a short video.
Really, I object. I don't have a, let the jury see the video. Could I see?
He objected to that. The prosecution, I don't know. Until she gets like to her point, I don't know kind of where she's going. She can't get to the point of what she needs from her witness, if that makes any sense. It's like she didn't prep, like she's just going on the fly. Cuter. And sidebar every 5 seconds. Oh, they have one little disagreement. Oh, come to the side. Why can't the judge just come up with the decision right there? I'll allow it. I'll not, What would the significance be of sending him taking, a video of the baby taking a bottle? So we are here. The nanny is currently on the stand. There's some disagreement about whether to play a video that the nanny sent Lindsay Clancy about Callan being able to take a bottle. The nanny started with them in about September of 2023. So right now they're on sidebar because they're disagreeing about that. Outside of the DNA rep, there's interesting testimony today from the toxicologist. Bombshell, Lindsay Clancy was taking her medications. Remron, Lamictal, Seroquel were all at therapeutic levels in her blood. And that was the prosecution's witness. That goes against her saying Lindsay wasn't taking her medication. Well, your witness got on the stand and said her meds were within therapeutic level. I think she was putting him on the stand so he could say,